What up, what up, what up, what up, what up, what up? Sorry, you guys. I decided to start another one, I know. Because of the conversation that I am about to bear with you. So, this shit is about to get crunk, Ola. Like, as crunk as you can possibly think. We will partially talk about the new marijuana laws and how they're getting broken down and how they're fucking with everything and everyone because they are passing a new marijuana law. So, it's stupid. Stupid, stupid, stupid. But we are going to talk about it. So, I just get word from one of my fellow marijuana activists that it is now going to be illegal to send any kind of cart in the mail. There is a Delta 8 cart ban.
So, electronic nicotine delivery system.
Hold on, y'all. Hello? No. Now they're calling me forever.
It is now a term of art. Thumbs ups for the terms of art. You get them here in cannabis legalization news because, what am I? I'm a lawyer. You visit me at my blog, Cannabis Industry Lawyer. And so now they have a new legal term of art which has been passed, again, by both houses of Congress. It's just waiting on Donald Trump to sign simply because he wanted $2,000.
Luckily, he didn't sign it.
And please do contact the White House and say, hey, thanks for the $2,000 that you haven't paid, and Congress hasn't approved. Well, the Democrats.
He's been posting up quite a
he could also
bit.
veto this particular aspect of it, and I'm not sure if they're.
The fuck cannabis extract Texas weed laws. Here we go.
What's up? It is 3 p.m. on a Sunday afternoon. Thanks for tuning in to Cannabis Legalization News, where we explain marijuana laws so you can change them. Today we are joined by Jack Spinkle from Texas Normal and Eric Espinoza from Dallas Fort Worth Normal. We're going to be talking about Texas cannabis law. So let's just get right into it. Hey, Jackson, Eric, thank you so much for joining us. Hey, Mickey and Todd.
Thank you for having us.
Yep. There we go.
Everybody's jumping in on that one. Hold on, let me fucking just put it on my TV.
Here we all are in this virtual room. Hi.
Texas marijuana laws, cannabis legalization.
Because actually, despite Texas not really having a very good cannabis law yet, they're about like 7%.
Texas marijuana laws, cannabis legalization. You're gonna motherfucking make me go to hell.
Current status of the Texas laws.
I'll just put it on my.
Set timer for an hour.
1 hour, starting now.
Hi, y'all. What was up there?
This just got posted 4 days ago, you guys.
What's up? It is 3 p.m. on a Sunday normal. We're going to be talking about Texas cannabis laws. So let's just get right into it. Hey, Jackson, Eric, thank you so much for joining us. Hey, Mickey and Tom.
Thank you for having us.
Mickey. I know Mickey's known on Instagram.
Yeah, I know Miggy and I know Jax.
Here we all are.
They're part of the Free the Weed Texas.
Well, we're thrilled to be able to have you guys on because actually, despite Texas not really having a very good cannabis law yet, they're about like 7% of our subscribers. So there's like over 1,000 subscribers that we have from Texas. We figured this would be a great opportunity for you guys to break down what the current status of the Texas laws are, what's on the agenda. I mean, seriously. Do you guys even have smokable hemp?
Yes. Right now we do, but there's a lawsuit about it, so we'll see what happens. It's been scheduled to be addressed in March, and until that point in time, smokable hemp is available. So you can have the smokable flower that's loose, but the debate is actually about the pre-rolled or the manufactured hemp. and also those vape cartridges. So that is what the lawsuit's going to be addressing. But until that happens, we have it, and hopefully the judge will uphold the position of having access instead of restriction.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So yes, we have him.
So that's the only thing you guys do have, right? That's the present status of Texas is hemp's only available for use.
Well, so technically, no. There is a medical program here in Texas, but it does have low THC cannabis. So it's 0.5% is available. So it's just a tiny bit more than hemp that you can get over the counter, but you are able to enroll in a program. You are able to make sure that it's that high medical grade level product that you need. The people that have been making the products have started to get creative about how they make them so that they can have higher THC to CBD ratios. So that's been beneficial, but it is still really restrictive on how many conditions can have access. So that's what we really have to focus on this session, is removing that THC cap and making sure that it's more broadly accessible to patients.
How many patients are currently in Texas, and how many conditions are qualifying?
So enrolled in the program, last I heard, was about 3,000 patients, which is really low for a state of our size. A lot of
3 million people in Texas.
3.
Yeah, I agree.
So
All
actually,
legal?
They all
It's
legal.
just Centerburg actually put out a white paper on how to improve medical cannabis in Texas.
Why did you
Kind
go
of
on
broke
pause?
into
Look at
like
that shit.
breaking all that down, so that's really important. But there's only about 300 doctors that are able to prescribe across our whole state. You know how big Texas is?
Yeah.
Well, we've got 254 counties, so that's
There
like
we go.
barely a
What's
doctor
up,
per
Mark?
county.
There you go. Now you
So
can
it's
see him.
very hard to get a hold of.
What's up, bro?
However, a lot
I
of
was
these doctors
handling
are
the tanks.
passionate, and they're participating in the program, even though there's
Filtration,
prescription language versus, the recommendation language, and they are trying to figure out ways to make sure that their patients will be included. So you asked about conditions, plasticity,
Watching the
neurodegenerative
update of the
disorders,
Texas
cerebral
marijuana laws.
neurodegenerative disorders, which was a new thing that they made up, so they had to define it, and that's several hundred different conditions that, or maybe 150 conditions that are included in that.
Look at how much grabbed it from the
Terminal
needle.
cancer,
Huh?
I grabbed it from the needle.
That's what I was trying
and
to
then there's one or two other ones like ALS, Parkinson's, those types of conditions. So it's still pretty restricted. So no PTSD, no chronic pain. So those are some big focuses this session.
Do you guys have a bill?
Yeah, there's a lot of bills. There are currently about 25 bills that have been filed. Last session, we saw 63 bills be filed, so I do anticipate, I know of at least 3 or 4 more that will be filed. So we will have a lot of options. It's all about which one has the best author, the best co-authors, who is really working those bills the most and able to get it through the process. So we haven't yet picked our priority legislation because there is still a lot of bills that are probably going to be filed, and committees are just now being put together. So once we know more about committee makeup, it'll be able to help us better know what has
More
the
people
best.
stand up, talk for it.
Eric, because you're an actual patient with a serious condition, cerebral palsy, is that on the list?
Cerebral palsy specifically is not on the list. However, it would be covered under spasticity, possibly. It could be covered under chronic pain. There's a couple of other conditions that it would be qualified under still, but now they haven't addressed my condition specifically. Just the symptoms that, pretty much make it up. Which, that in itself was a step in the right direction. When the bill first passed, even though I knew that wasn't necessarily going to help me, I still advocate for something like that because it's going to help somebody. Then we get the opportunity to expand that into several other, ailments and conditions. And that's, really the goal, I think, for any patient in Texas that's advocating for cannabis is, they might not be included, but somebody else, their partner might be, or their brother or their sister, or whoever else. So, I think that's how we feel.
But you can tell because of his breathing too.
They want to be
Yeah,
included. They
cerebral
want
palsy
this to be
attacks
an
to the
inclusive
Yeah.
program and inclusive on that very different levels too.
No, it's
Not only just with conditions, but
It's the lack
in
of option.
price
yeah.
and availability.
We are. I'm
and
watching
quality
my
and
friends
delivery
on
method,
YouTube.
you know,
It's
you
a
kinda
new
wanna
video they
see,
just posted up
again, it's
regarding the
available
cannabis
here
laws in Texas.
like it is in some of the larger medical cannabis states.
He's the director.
Have you had
One of the directors.
what are some of the medical cannabis states that you guys are looking toward, Eric and Jax, when advising legislature in your state? Who are some of the examples that you guys are looking to?
Ooh, well, I mean, there's definitely like, oh, well, look, Oklahoma has some really great medical freedom where doctors decide on, how patients can dose and who is going to be able to access it. But really, it's kind of like a pick and choose from different places because you learn different lessons from different states, right? So I think, making sure that eventually we have a good research component in this because we want to make sure, I mean, we've got MD Anderson down in Houston, we've got these amazing world-renowned research facilities, but we want to make sure that they're testing what patients are actually consuming. And Eric was talking about uptake method. Up until recently, we only had oil in Texas, and that was not specifically like restricted, but it was what they were advocating for was just for oil. And so now there's some lozenges you can get, some topicals you can get. So like basically trying to diversify, but we really have to make the program more inclusive to make it where it's profitable. I hate to say that, but if you are making a business out of making medicine, you have to at least break even. And a lot of these companies are not probably doing that. And they're trying to also have foundations that help get money in to help subsidize the medicine costs for patients. So it's complicated. We did not start off with the best program. We started off with one of the most restrictive programs in the country. And so we're just really having to take that apart and make it better.
It's a shame that you have to cringe when you say the word profitable when it comes to cannabis because this shouldn't be an issue, right? We're not sad when Viagra's making money.
I mean, I think one of the things about the cannabis movement is making sure that it's inclusive of people of all socioeconomic varieties. And so if we're not considering these things, then we have a big issue. If you were charged with possession in Texas, you couldn't work in the Texas Compassionate Use Program. And so now there's a bill that would change that. And so that's super important to the people that have these collateral consequences. Because I don't know if you guys know, but in Texas, flower is still technically illegal, although there's deprioritization programs. But if you come with one of your favorite vape pens from another state and it's got more than 0.3% THC, that is a first-degree state jail felony.
Yes.
Hard business.
Well, that's too bad because from all the states, if you guys really want it for the patients, patient home grow is important. That will crash the price. That will make it accessible. That will make the quality there. And even in Illinois, you had to wait through medical. They really have access into adult use when they finally allow medical home grow. But do you think that medical home grow has a shot in Texas?
There is a bill that a senator has authored that does include home grow, and it's also included in one of the
Give me 1 second, y'all. Yeah, exactly. And he's like you say, he's more of a hands-on. He likes to make sure that he does things right. He likes to question it, you know. And it is not that he doesn't understand. He just wants to make sure that he's doing it right to the way that he can get the grade that he needs to get. Instead of saying, "Well, I just answered it, however, not knowing what I was doing." And then, like, of course, the teacher's going to tell you, "Well, why didn't you ask for help?" So to avoid that situation, he asked for help, and then it kind of blows up in his face. So, but he is going to be sending the letter to Miss Gamboa. The internet has been fading in and out today, but I will have him make sure that he does send it to her today, and so like that we can figure out how to approach the situation differently. Exactly. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. And a lot of the students don't know how to do that because they're afraid. They're scared. Yes. Well, luckily I was able to convince him otherwise. So um, he will be sending. I mean, I don't know why he just feels very comfortable with Miss Gamboa. So I told him, send it to whoever you feel comfortable to with. I'll just let them know so that it gets in the hands of the right people. Because yes, yes. Oh no, he has a lot of people. Exactly. Exactly. And that's a lot of what he's going through. So let's see if we can come up with a way to figure it out. And he already told I already told him he needs to finish off the school year. So that's just point blank. He can't go anywhere else. And besides, he can't. Um, so he already knows that. He's like, I'm gonna do my very best. I just need to figure out a way how to do it. So we'll let them know so we can figure out a way. So that's what we're doing now. So hopefully we can get together again and see how we can approach the situation and figure out a different outlet. Because if he's having that problem, makes me wonder how many other students are having that same situation but don't know how to verbalize it. Yes, exactly. Yeah, just put it out there. Or I mean, a lot of these children don't know how to use their freedom of speech. They're very scared, and it's unfortunate because, like, let's be honest, a lot of our children here have a lot of migrant parents, or people who are illegal, here illegally. So they live in fear, and that's the way they are raised to live. So they don't know how to approach and reach out for help because they're afraid that it's going to affect their parents or something might happen, or it's a chain reaction. Exactly. So they stay quiet and just do what they have to do and be done with it. I know several people that are like that, and it's so sad. But I do appreciate you calling me, and I was able to tell you, this situation. I will keep in touch with you and Ms. Gamboa and the rest of the staff so we can figure out a way how to approach this situation better. Like I tell you, only because I mean, if he's having that situation, it makes me wonder how many other children are feeling the same way. So, yeah, exactly. And they don't know who to talk to. Exactly. So, I hope that we can come up with an alternative, not just for him, but for everybody else. Because, like I said, there has to be other children that are feeling the same way or having the same situation, and they're just not saying anything. I mean, exactly, exactly. But I will keep in touch with you. Thank you so much for calling me and hearing what's going on because, like I said, we do need to approach this and settle it out. But I will talk to you soon. You too, stay safe and be careful. Okay, good. Bye bye. Oh my God, they're so desperate for conversation. Ah! I tried hanging up like fucking a million times. Didn't work in my favor. He was like the Energizer Bunny. He just kept going and going and going. Fuck. I'm like, shut up. I think I said the same thing like fucking 8 times. Well, we'll figure out a way to approach the situation. Well, we'll figure out a way to approach. It just pisses me off because whenever anybody asks for any kind of freaking help, these teachers tell them just to go look at the online curriculum and figure it out. They're not really giving them the help
To
that they
really
need
have
or
access.
answering the questions. And that's where it's becoming really frustrated because sometimes the instructions that are given on the online curriculum are not specific enough because he's done the work and they're like, no, that's not the way you're supposed to do it. You're supposed to do it like this. So to avoid that having to do it again, he wants to ask the questions and it's just a run around.
Access to adequate
Back to the
supply
fucking
of
laws of
medicine
Texas.
and into adult use when they finally
I was like,
allowed
fuck.
medical home grow. But do you think that medical home grow has a shot in heck in Texas?
There is a bill that a senator has authored that does include home grow, and it's also included in one of the retail bills that's been authored. And it's really a great thing for patients, but unfortunately, it's what we've seen cut the last two sessions first. And it's because our state has treated it like plutonium, not like a plant. And so it's been very sad for a lot of patients. Because as you know, people leave Texas and become medical refugees to go get access. But then there's other patients that are forced to move here for XYZ reason, and then they lose it, right? And
Right.
so it's really sad to see that.
Yeah, because I'm not Joe Roganing this show and moving to Texas. I got plants over there, man. I'm growing some.
Come on, Joe, let's do some things.
Yeah, but then and so I just hope that you guys can actually get that. And it's too bad. Why do you think? Well, first off, who's running Texas, and what do they have against cannabis flowers?
I mean, as far as like who's running Texas, clearly it's not some of the right people, because they're not giving the people what they want. They're not giving cannabis patients what they want. They're not giving responsible adults the rights that they should deserve to have. And we have a good medical program. There's bones there. There's room to grow, but we definitely should have been there sooner. Especially with all the numbers that are growing of people that are getting involved, people that are getting active, people that are submitting their testimonies and things like that. And you just have to, it's just really hard to change the minds of folks that are still demonizing cannabis. It's like plutonium extracts, treating it like plutonium, not treating it like a plant. And
Sad.
it's just getting people to realize that it is a plant and it does have medical benefit. Maybe to some people that use it properly, maybe not for others. It's for them and their doctor to decide. But you really have to just come down to it and talk to these representatives and folks as they want to see it. Make it a financial issue there. This is how much money we're leaving on the table for Texas education. This is how much money we're leaving on the table for these other things that we should be getting, just like all these other states that are raking in on the
Billions and billions.
Yeah, so we're close to $1 billion in its first year.
Yeah, oh man, $1 billion. That is an insane amount.
Well, and I think there was a hybridization of both forms, so medical and adult use. So like I did an adult use thing where I bought it. It was a $20 gram, but by the time we were done with that gram, it was actually $25 because of all the taxes for the adult use. But then if I would have gotten and used my medical card for that, it would have been a $20 gram. But do you guys have dispensaries?
So you can get hemp flower in many different locations. As far as medical cannabis, there are two main dispensing locations, but since the pandemic, they have been allowing delivery and satellite pickup. So I'm hopeful to see that continue. But I did just want to touch on your saying,
Man down. Well, she was probably about to start talking against the establishment. Whenever you try to talk.
I don't know if I'm back.
Sometimes if we kind of plug it back in, it works. And then sometimes you just start talking and it might work.
Okay, so I don't know if you guys can hear me, but I was going to talk about the man. I was going to say that the Department of Public Safety, which is our state sheriff, are who are in control of our medical program in Texas.
State sheriff. Whoa.
Yeah.
So the sheriff's bastions of health in Texas, right? Never have a heart attack. Oh my God. Alcoholism. The sheriffs. These guys are like Dr. Fauci of Texas. Right. What the fuck?
So unfortunately, that's what we are dealing with. And it's not the Department of State Health Services, which is where a lot of people think it should be.
So do you think like your emphasis should be then now like educating cops on like the endocannabinoid system? Like what who do you get through over there?
It really is a very
Yep.
big urban,
You gotta get
rural
to the
kind of
fucking
divide
everybody.
here in a lot of the
Everybody.
urban areas like Houston, San Antonio, Dallas, Austin. We've all got diversion programs. The cops and the DAs are like, we ain't got time for this. But in rural areas, people are still willing to pay for those tests to try to prove that it isn't hemp and all of that. So it is frustrating, and there is a lot of education. I work with a foundation that focuses on rural education, and so we go and we do traveling workshops around the state, and we try to educate people in smaller towns about hemp and cannabis and medical cannabis and the side effects of criminalization. And I will say that hemp did a lot of work for us here in Texas,
Yep.
decriminalizing it, or I mean not decriminalizing it, destigmatizing it,
Yeah.
because now a lot of rural farmers are growing. So it's been really a nice change.
Have you guys noticed influence from Oklahoma, from its legalization process? Because like when I was there with Seattle Hemp Fest for the first like Oklahoma Hemp Fest, people were coming up from Texas to learn about the upcoming market and what we were doing in Washington, because it reflects the early days, the same type of civil liberty type thing where people were like, okay, I got a license, that's all I need. Like, it was a very low bar. Everybody had a chance. And are you guys seeing that influence as far as the education and because CBD stores were everywhere in Oklahoma too at that time, like 7-Elevens. Like I never saw so many CBD stores, like Starbucks. I'm like, wow.
Every little town.
Yeah, and pot leaves were everywhere, but it was just CBD. So, but that, like you said, helped destigmatize the situation. And so now we're like to the next level. Hey, we're now going weed, full entourage effect, which people are like it hasn't collapsed yet. Where
plutonium.
Texas is still America, right? I'm just checking.
Well, I mean, that's my point is that I was trying to say, like, do we believe in medical freedom or not? Do we really truly believe that people are able to go and with their doctors and with their medical advisors decide what they should do to treat their body for whatever
That's what's
ailment
up, Mark.
that they might have? Do we
I'm
believe that or
educating
not?
myself here.
And do we also already trust the mechanisms that are
Yeah, and I was
to
educating
take care of
myself
monitoring
as a
doctors,
fucking high schooler.
monitoring pharmacists, monitoring all of these things? Do we trust them all?
I had a conversation with him about why he feels the way he is, but it's not important to me. Very important. So I have to call Mr. Gumbo on Monday, that's all, with his concerns. And I told him,
He read you the message.
no, we spoke man to man about school without notes. I'm not worried about that. He told me, I'll tell you something about it. That's the most fastest I spoke.
That's the same kind of conversation. Oh, hold on. Stop meowing. Sorry, you all. I forgot I was on mute. Like a dumbass. Like a virgin.
Trust them already. Well, we trust them with opioids. We're trusting them with all of this. So if we can't trust them with the plants, I think we have some bigger systemic problems than cannabis that we need to be looking at. So it is one of the ways to talk about it. There's a lot of ways to talk about it, but really the most movement that we see is whenever someone has a personal story close to one of those legislators and they share it with them. And that is usually where we have seen hearts and minds change the fastest. Otherwise, it is a little bit harder for especially some of the more conservative legislators.
Sure. It's fascinating. Now, with that point, so it is 0.5% THC. We're really basically talking about medical industrial hemp, right? I mean, if it's
to a certain extent. Yeah.
To a large extent. All right. And then,
they are growing like more full spectrum plants, and they are doing. So you have to keep in mind when you're talking about a percentage, you're not talking about a weight, right? So a weight is typically a better way, milligrams, you know, to do dosing, not percentages. And so they have been able to get creative with their formulations where they can do a 1-to-1 or a 2-to-1 or a 20-to-1, but it means that there's a lot more substrate, right? And so whenever we were doing oils only, people were having to take a lot of it, and that was causing digestion problems, bowel
so you
problems.
have to dilute the stuff.
I got 2
Right,
children.
exactly. And so what they've done instead is now they're doing lozenges. And so they've been able to be a little bit more
I
effective
put
that
the
way.
DC on the
So
thing
yeah,
over
we
on
blend
62.
the
and I
two
stuck it.
cannabinoids. Because the
Like
other
I
thing that we
throw-
had on with
you know,
Dr.
so-
Russo last week, great episode. He explained that
I had
the
that one stuck on my
anandamide and the
ankle.
endocannabinoid system, the Stevie 1 receptors, the
Yeah.
THC activate,
You know
are
that
quite
was
important. And so
I know.
why is it 99.5% not allowing
Undertaker's
this
gonna make an
chemical
appearance at
that's important
WrestleMania.
to our endocannabinoid
Huh?
system? That's where a lot of the benefit comes
Undertaker's making an
So
appearance at WrestleMania.
Why
When they announce it.
or why are Texas legislatures against?
So it's one of the, you know that
That's
porn
how the
star,
medicine works. I mean, like,
Mia
it's
Khalifa, the
literally
one
how
with
the
the big breast, and she's from living in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
Well, she's a sportcaster now for NFL. She's the bombshell. She's the one that throws. She's the one that fucking talks when they throw a touchdown.
this works. Why are they denying science?
THC is pretty stigmatized.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy once you learn about the ECS and then you understand how all of that works, you know, as you're in your cannabis education, because everybody does that individually. You know, we go through our learning about cannabis and how it affects us and those around us, and you see all this factual information, and then you look at these the arbitrary laws that discount science. And you want to make sure that everybody understands that this is an actual system in your body, and it does
You're
exist
not
in
making
every
this up.
single
This
organ.
isn't something that happened
Right.
when you got high. You're like, whoa, man,
No,
look at this
I
thing.
feel it in my body. No, it's actually
Right.
And it's difficult to not get frustrated when you're explaining science, when you're explaining these things, and it's just not enough to make things happen. And I don't understand it. But all that science is supposed to do, and science is supposed to
Got
help
too warm.
further our communities and our nation, yet you want to ignore science based on stigma that shouldn't really exist anymore. Now that we know what we do about cannabis.
Well, and Eric,
Well, both of you.
yeah, Brendan's right. Our lieutenant governor last time around was like, no, nothing is getting through all of that. And we were able to get 2 bills through. This time he said he's open to making some medical changes. So we've made a little progress there. But no, he is a big issue, a big person that we have to move into our court. But to speak to what Eric said, whenever we're talking about people who are making these laws, they're not doctors. They're not medical professionals. In the whole 181 legislators up at the Texas Capitol, there's like 6 or 7 medical professionals. And I'm talking these are like osteopaths, optometrists, veterinarians, like people, and these are the only people that really are going to understand some of that scientific and medical language. And so that's why it should be more in the hands of the doctors who know what they're doing and what's going on. And then just one more thing I wanted to say is that a really good thing about our program is it gives you a kind of a protection from Child Protective Services. So if you are taking cannabis, if your child is taking cannabis, now you have a reason, you have a permission slip from the state, so that they can't bother you. And so that is important.
I think we see. I think we're seeing that in a lot of our bills right now. Most of the bills that have been introduced include family protections. That's something that we're seeing all across the board, which I think that's,
Making
those
your
are
daddy's phone go
paramount
wacky
things that have to
stupid.
happen. Remove the cap, family protections, parent protections, even when it comes to making sure that they can't use, be able to use that against you if you were divorced. It's like all of those things, those are very important that we're seeing in most of these bills that are coming through.
Yeah, because we have had so many people on, and we've heard so many stories all over the country. That is something that people weaponize.
Okay, get the mail. Me and the neighbor
Not
get the
only
mail
their
at the same
kids,
time.
but then also if
I'm
they're
like,
divorcing and then they're unhappy because of
Cogeo,
that, for whatever
entiendo de
reason
cogeo.
they are
and that's all I say is
different with one another.
like, beautiful neighborhood.
They try to use
And she
anything they
ignores me.
can
She's
against the
looking at
other
her
person in order to gain leverage over their kids. It's terrible,
at
it's
the same
shocking,
time, it's
but it
not.
happens,
And
and
then
then
she
you
says,
see
and
that.
then she says, hi.
Man, I can't believe
And I'm like,
that,
hi neighbor.
you were really
And she
fortunate
says,
in Illinois where they're not allowed to do that.
no,
but
speak English.
that
Habla
was a thing
español.
here too, like years ago.
And I
Still
said,
is a thing.
yo hablo español de
And I think that's
Cotojo. She's
happening
like,
to
pero no
everyone
hablo
in
inglés.
Texas.
So hablas español si me entiendes.
They're all
And I'm like, I have to
cutting
rough it up with my
weapons
Spanish.
against you because you can lose your job at any moment if you test positive for cannabis. You lose your license. You lose all of your freedom, basically.
What if a guy like me goes down to Texas to hang out and I work? And so, like,
I'm gonna put those cards in the mail tomorrow. I mean, yeah.
Because there's going to be a license window opening this spring. We're going to go down to Texas and start taking phone calls.
Start taking what? I
Phone calls. You'd be like, oh, you need how much money? How much is the license? Or, like, work, like, you need an ID agreement because we're trying to set up, okay, so you have an MSO thing going.
Our shit, get off.
Get to that, and helping cannabis companies facilitate their operations.
Well, we only have 2 licensees here. Well, technically there's 3, but only 2 are really functional.
From the other house.
That's a really sad thing, I think. Not because I think that they're doing anything wrong or anything like that, but I think that having options in medication, maybe even competitive pricing that way. But originally they were saying that they would have 12 licenses. But they ended up going with the statutory minimum, which was 3.
First.
And then they opened it back up at one point, and then a bunch of people applied, and then they're just like, no, we're not gonna do that.
They opened it up, and then they pulled it on the Tuesday at 5 p.m. Like, oh, our bad. No, we didn't mean to do that.
Yeah, don't do that again. Like that. And so, like, what you want to do is you want to say, hey, locale, like the state, you do like Michigan and California, they just register you. It's just like fill out this form, fill out that form, fill out this form. And then it's on the municipality. And so the municipality is the one that, really is the stickler. So then the municipality is the one that's got to deal with all that shit. You see, because you're making these cannabis applications so effing complex that they might be hundreds of pages long, and not one guy wants to deal with it. So like in Illinois, where we had 900 teams given 900-page weight to KPMG, and they chop it up to see how it's supposed to be scored, it fails miserably. Now, if it just would have been a qualification thing at the state level, and then you take that 900 pages down to your city, and that city gets like 30 applications as opposed to 900, then it's easier to sort through.
Look at this.
And that's the layers that they add to prohibition that makes it even harder to get to the point where I can just not worry about my backyard homegrown one day.
Yep.
Just so much, like you guys in Texas, I think Texas faces not just the 100-year because you guys are the first place to bring laws against possession. So,
what year was that?
I think it was either 1913 or 1915. I can't remember which. It was the first local law against personal possession of marijuana, and I say it that way because you spell it with an H. Yeah, that's great.
So I mean, you guys have this systemic, embedded, just hate for the plant, and
I know I paid
in front of the bush. Like,
My great grandmother
Huh?
used to get
You
this
can
stuff
put up a farm?
and use it in
I know he's in Seattle.
organ alcohol for her joints. And so like it's always been
Get off the bed
a
now.
treatment,
It's
right?
his,
We've always known
Drugs.
this as a thing about wellness. The plant,
It's a green screen, but yeah.
The science
No,
that
it's
over
real.
100 years of anti-prohibition got over there, you guys got a lot. Like you were saying earlier, Jack, the rural
No, it's
versus
a green
city.
screen.
I broke down in Justin. one
You can
time,
tell at the
Justin,
top edge.
Texas, and the person that helped me belonged to a cult. Right? Like the guy was a faith healer. Right? And I was scared shitless all night. Like, I don't want to wake up eating some Kool-Aid or whatever. I mean, it was in the middle of nowhere. And that's
Did he have the rattlesnakes with him? Was he that type of faith healer?
I got a DVD. Apparently, his wife and kid died in an accident. He got powers or some shit afterwards. It was pretty awesome. Like, I was scared shitless, but it was like kind of so surreal just knowing that people like this exist and in Texas, in the rural parts. And that's what you're going against. You're going against, like, well, look, God made it. And then that's going to be your other argument with it.
Yeah,
God
for the
made it.
mobile
Why is it
phones.
bad?
Yeah.
And then they'll be like, okay, you win.
Well, I mean, to your point, El Paso, when they did it, it was because of Mexican migrants coming across the border that they were trying to prevent from coming and taking their jobs, you know? And that's why marijuana, they couldn't spell it, they spelled it with an H, marijuana, right? And then even to this day, if you look at the most recent ACLU report, in Texas, if you are Black, you are 3 times more likely to get arrested than your white counterparts. And I want to make sure everybody's clear that when they say white, that includes Latinos and Hispanics in Texas. So it's not included, it's not in its own separate breakout. That's actually, if you are Black, you're 3 times more likely to get arrested than white and all, you know, Latinos as well. So that's a pretty wild number.
It's like he's still in 1930s.
Or I might get.
Sometimes, and
Or
it's
your
like,
phone being the original. I mean the.
But you know,
like our plan. Our plan.
I was gonna say, all these things are wrong. Like the El Paso ban, I realized,
And
was
basically,
and all that, and trying to
If you want to use that
But
one as secondary.
since 1992, and then like, okay, fine, anandamides
Right.
discovered, the endocannabinoid system discovered. It's like, holy crap, this is why it works. That's fine. 5 years, 10 years, that was 28, 29 years ago now that we've known about the endocannabinoid system. I think we can at least, as adults, be like, okay, well, this law was predicated completely on lies. We fully understood how it worked. Maybe we can really stop.
Since the special bills in your name for the.
And you know, over there.
And that'd be a
I
short.
think the amazing thing about it too is that the endocannabinoid system and that Kansas education is going
He
into
fights hard,
so
doesn't
many
he?
different industries that not.
Fuck
I
you
wouldn't
up,
even think
bitch.
about, you know, that industry
Yeah, put
doing
this on
it.
this
So,
side.
for example, there's a sleep apnea company that does education for its dental or its hygienists and its techs and all that, right? So they had a guy come in and do a whole presentation on ECS and how it could benefit them to, you know, have their product, versus the product in the right, but to have their product in their shops, and this is why their product was the best and all this and all that. But, you know, aside from that, we're talking about, you know, sleep apnea, dentistry, and things like that that are also now getting education on
I
the
love
ECS
that.
as well. So I think, you know, as long as it just keeps seeping into
Oh,
other industries,
the
that's
thing is
gonna
not
help
popping up
us
at all.
advertise and normalize.
Oh, verás.
And talking about science,
So
I mean,
far,
if our doctors
I gotta
aren't
check it out.
really learning about the endocannabinoid
this real quick.
system in their
I'll check it
classes
out.
and in their degrees, and
Alexa, how much time I have on my timer?
You have 6 minutes and 10 seconds left on your 1-hour timer.
Alexa, extend by another hour.
1 hour added. You now have about 1 hour, 6 minutes and 5 seconds left.
Since hands on. Other fan over there.
they're not going to know or understand it. So they're actually Association of Cannabis Specialists did a Texas-based policy CME on the 9th of this month, and the CME is continuing medical education, and they broke down, you know, for the whole day, all the different parts of CBDS, how all of these different molecules, I mean, some of that was like, what? Because I'm not a doctor, right? And so these are the types of conversations that are super important in Texas.
That's all of it for me, girl. Like every time Russo speaking, I'm just like, huh?
Reaction, and I was like, I'm gonna pretend like I know what that means.
He has a
words.
green screen for
I know this is
the
English, but yeah, I don't understand. But that's important, right? Like this is the medical
Yeah.
thing. Like we all have our own field of things that we do, right? Like I
You
work
told me
with
'cause of his
electronics.
shirt.
Like, I couldn't tell you. I'm not gonna dissect a
Obviously.
person. But I can take apart your TV.
They had a green screen
You know what I
color.
mean? It's like
we all have our individual.
It's his background. It goes with the books.
And Eric, I had a question though. Even though it'd be technically illegal since you're not a patient, did you have a chance to try the medicine to see if it affects you or helps anything?
The medicine that they're offering now specifically, no. But during the 2 sessions ago, I went CBD only, so that I could see, when the act got passed into law, and when I was able to apply for the compassionate use program, would CBD by itself be enough to treat my cerebral palsy? And I tried that during the whole entire session leading up to all of that, and it just, for me, it does not. The CBD by itself does not treat all of my condition and all of my symptoms. And to be perfectly honest, THC by itself does not either. And it's a combination of all of the available cannabinoids. When I say available cannabinoids, I'm talking about CBG, CBN, like all of these other things that people are now segregating the more that they try to stamp down on THC. So I think the newest one that I've seen is Delta 8, which is a different cannabinoid that they're using that's totally legal, or in that gray area or whatnot that they're throwing around here, just like the CBG strains and things like that. So it's just trying to navigate around the high quality things that some companies are offering in Texas and the not so high quality things that they're offering. And then that comes with a separate kind of education. You need to be looking for clinical analysis reports. You need to be looking at all these other aspects and not just taking CBD or other cannabis products because you can buy them over the counter. Be a smart consumer of these products and know what you're putting into your body, because you can put various kinds of CBDs into your body, the qualities, but if they're not going to all be as beneficial if they're lower quality and there's other stuff mixed in, or other adulterants that don't belong there, like we saw with the vape cartridges and things like that, where there are additives in there that were causing serious conditions with people. When it necessarily have anything to do
Get out of there.
Vaping itself, just additives, or had no business in there. That's when you come into quality control and things like that, which we don't have on the CBD market.
Gizmo, get over here.
A whole quality
control. Get over here.
Comes to stuff
get over here.
And you're getting it from a couple of licensed places that we do have here that offers stuff. Then yes, you're getting really high quality stuff. You're getting some of the best quality that you can probably get outside of other legal areas. And additionally, what I'm seeing is people going over to Oklahoma and taking opportunity in their program to buy a temporary card.
Now you can say
and treat themselves that way.
Stop.
So I think just like Colorado and other places get medical tourism, that's going to happen until our program is expanded enough to actually be able to ensure quality and good price for patients and any adult use too, I would hope.
Is there a legacy cannabis scene in Texas, or I guess the legacy marijuana scene in Texas? I'm not sure what they call it over there right now. Is there a cannabis culture in the state? A lot of the comments in the thread is just like, man, Texas loves weed. I'm like,
we do.
Like that.
We do.
As much as anyone else does, we do.
The vibe's going to be illegal, and you don't know what's in it necessarily, right?
Yeah. Well, let me kind of break it down for you a little bit. So in Texas, we don't have ballot initiatives like a lot of states do. We have to rely on our elected state representative and elected state senator to change our laws at the state level. So our legislature rang in. The first day of it was January 12th. It goes for 140 days until the end of May. And that every 2 years is our opportunity to change the law. So we don't have ballot initiative. We can't collect signatures to get something on the ballot. The only way we can get stuff on the ballot here in Texas is if a legislator authors something that's called a joint resolution. And what that does is it changes our constitution. And then it has to go through a supermajority through both chambers. Then it goes to the Secretary of State and is put on whichever election cycle it's supposed to be put on. and then, all the ad campaigns, law enforcement, this, that, and the other, and then we can vote on it. If it passes, it goes back to the legislature for them to make the laws about it. We're just so connected to the process.
So basically, it's good to be.
She's a bitch about it too.
If
Fuck Texas
we
and
are
ass.
in the established, is it the Democrats or the Republicans that are, well, I'm assuming for
Republicans have control of both chambers and the governorship.
It's good to be a Republican in Texas.
And this is probably why you're not getting anything done right now. Because I'm too busy having no gag reflex in the White House. And so hopefully, come the new administration, something else. Because this is all about a wellness, holistic option, right? This is all about you as a Texan, as an American, being like, yo, I have a bad back or whatever. I want to try this, and then have it work for me. All right, weed works for me, or weed doesn't work.
Well, and in all fairness, I do want to give our governor his due where it is. Last session, he negotiated a penalty reduction bill, a medical bill, and a hemp bill that were much more robust than what was passed. The person who ended up changing it and removing PTSD, removing chronic pain, was the lieutenant governor. And so he's come along the way a little bit here, but we have more work to do. Our governor actually, a lot of people don't support it and, do what you gotta do, but he did change his mind. He did work with Moody. He did work with Lucio to make those bills something he thought he could see. And those were things that we were happy with. They were better than, what we ended up with. And so sadly, we didn't get what the governor had negotiated.
Wow. And I think that's one of the greatest things that I've been witness to. When you're at the Capitol and you're going through the testimonies and you're sitting there waiting for votes to happen and you're doing the work and you're seeing bipartisan support on these things, but then you actually get to see it change in some way, even if it's a small way, even if it's a limited program, you're getting to see your action and the action of others in the community actually change things for the better. And that's, it can be empowering, but at the same time, can be very frustrating. You just have to decide at some point, is a little bit of frustration now worth it for, future generations of Texans to come? And I totally think that it is. Like we say, freedom in our lifetime. I'd definitely like to see medical freedom in my lifetime in my home state.
That would be fantastic. I hope you guys see it in your lifetime in the next foreseeable years. I mean, a concerted letter writing campaign to the lieutenant governor. Why are you suppressing science? Why are you standing in the way of this? I mean, are you candidates physicians? I'm sure that we could talk to Dr. Russo. He can give us like a 12-question checklist quiz, and we can just send leaflets all over Texas. As to see if the candidates physicians. Because it was just fascinating to have him break down all the information
made out of him.
About how your endocannabinoid system works. But then also he got into the terpenoids and the relations to the cannabinoids that are in there as well, and the precursors that go and they create all these wonderful flavor profiles and cannabinoid profiles. These are really special, like cool things that nature did that are nerdy and scientific. If you're running the effing state of Texas, I would hope that you have some command over science and how life works. I would hope,
Hope to dream.
Well, in America, especially in Texas, we have very soft egos. You should point out the fact that Thailand is more advanced than Texas right now. Legalized medical all aboard, and there's a hospital serving medical food. And there's a Reuters video that I watched earlier today where they're talking about how cannabis coincides with the other treatments they're doing and helps them to stir their appetites and all the other things. Versus like in America, we're still like, yo, yeah, let us know if you consume pot because we don't want to put you under use of anesthesia for certain. It makes no sense, right? Just because I'm a cannabis consumer, I mean, sure, some things might, but the body has an endocannabinoid system. I'll still reject the synthetic shit no matter what. Some people just, it should be an option.
Well, and we actually had a really great pharmacist come and do a couple of courses with us to kind of let people know some of the things that can counteract with CBD or THC. You might be taking one medicine that works a certain way in your liver, and if you eat this, then it might inhibit your other medicines. You actually might need to change your dosing on it. Or it can make your opioids more effective. So while you still may have to use some opioids, it's going to be drastically reduced, right? And so having people with that scientific knowledge talking about it, I mean, the way that she just like breaks it down and explains
It's
it was
basically
very satisfying
putting
to
the
me.
patients to
And
vote.
I like the way
How
that
it makes
she
them
kind
feel
of
and
talks
break
about,
it down.
some things you
So
can't
it's their bench.
take
Yeah,
it and be
speak
great
for how
for
it
it.
helps.
It's a similar type of thing. Or St. John's wort. You have to know those certain little cases and you have to be thoughtful about it. And if people don't know, they could be maybe hurting themselves without knowing it. So that's why it's really important that we bring everything kind of like into the market where people can openly talk about it, because a lot of patients don't even know how to enroll in the program. Like we had to create a tutorial to teach them how to enroll in the program. And so just education is so important on like a million different levels.
Yeah. But the fact
How
that you
likely is it that the administrative body would change in Texas? You said both houses of the legislature are Republican. Will we ever have a Democratic governor in the state of Texas that may have a cannabis legalization policy on the agenda?
Well, I mean, people look at Ann Richards. She was a Democratic governor here in Texas. We definitely have had Democratic rule before, although it has been 30 years since that's happened. There was a lot of conversation. There was a lot of conversation about flipping the House blue this year. But in reality, it's one race flipped one way and the other race flipped the other way. And so they ended up having the exact same number in the House. So I think redistricting is going to be addressed this session, and redistricting is how they map the different locations and districts that they have, and they use census data to do that, but it's not going to be here until this summer, so it may be a special session. Honestly, guys, I'm happy it's getting pushed to the summer, because I would rather that divisive conversation not be happening at the same time I'm trying to get bipartisan support for marijuana law.
Right. Yeah, that is something that Oklahoma, Mississippi, and also South Dakota showed us. This is not a Republican issue. You guys don't have a beef with this. You want it just as much as we do. And I bet if you looked at usage rates between Democrats and Republicans, they probably use weed at about the same amounts. That's probably why it's a bipartisan issue. But unfortunately, with that Safe Banking Act in the federal House, when that was voted on in Congress, it was like 95% either way. I mean, it was complete bipartisan, or partisan vote, not bipartisan at all.
And it's ridiculous why that even had to be. This morning, getting ready to talk to you guys, just knowing where you guys at stake, where commission is. I just want to let you know, like, not to be bragging or nothing. Like this morning, I woke up, I had no weed. I was like, all right, I'm on my way to work. I'll stop at the pot shop. I grabbed one infused pre-roll, smoked it on my way here so I can do some stuff. And let me just tell you something. I went fancy. I bought this infused flavored one that it's a creme brulee, right? Like, oh my god, yeah, $6 creme brulee. And no shit tasted like creme brulee, like the terpene mixture in this thing was amazing. And it hit me the yeah, $6. And that's the thing, it's like recreational. That's recreational. And then I got a good fix, whatever, hit hard, didn't even finish it all. And as an asthmatic, so like sometimes I can tell paper, it burns a little rough to me. Like Dr. Russo says, combustible is not the best way. Like we talked about earlier, Eric, not everybody needs to be smoking or medicine. It's a perception thing, but like it's recreational. I'm on my way to a date, and no one died. No one died.
Well, and there's also a lot of science that's coming out now that's showing that cannabis smoke is distinct from nicotine smoke. You are not going to have the same effect, so it's not. You can't really compare the two like that. There was even, I think, some study that showed that if you so it compared smoking tobacco versus smoking cannabis versus not smoking at all. And the people who smoke cannabis have the lowest rates of cancer. So lower than the non-smoker.
I tell you, that's one of those things that I like to remind people when they make that conflation in the argument. They're like, but it's still smoking. It's going to be bad. It's got to be carcinogenous. I'm like, apples aren't oranges, right? Apples aren't oranges. So you're talking about tobacco and you're talking about cannabis, and you're ignoring that fact and just going straight to the smoke. And
really what they're showing, the real long-term side effect is really just kind of like a cough that you have a lot. And it's a productive cough because the alveoli in your, or did I say that right? That are in your lung are expressing any mucus or any things that are in there, and so it's being productive, right?
True. But in this day and age of 2021, you could buy an herbal vaporizer. You could not smoke if you don't want to.
Yeah,
You don't like the smoke flavor sometimes.
Look
it's a
at his
different
face.
experience altogether. I feel.
Yeah.
Yeah, like going to other legal states or medical states and being able to sample, like going to Colorado, going to California, hitting Las Vegas, and being able to see like what those
He actually
markets look
turned off
like
his camera earlier and got
and
high.
what kind of quality
You
you're
heard
getting,
the
what kind
lighter.
of
This one.
delivery methods you're getting. It's just, you go there, you have the time of your life for 48 hours or however much, and then you come back
And
here
he's smoking
to
some
not
underground
that.
shit. Like,
And,
Well,
Not that
there's going to be a
See it in his eyes.
festival season coming up this year, provided that everybody gets their
Everybody's
shots. And we have some pretty cool music
Illinois.
festivals in Illinois. Come to Illinois. 5 weeks.
And that's gonna be a great thing, Candace. Sure.
Eric and Jax, thank you so much for joining us today. Jax, where can we find and follow what you guys got going on at Texas Normal?
Absolutely. You can go to TexasNormal, NORML.org, and you'll be able to click on our 87th Ledge tab. That's where you'll find all the bills and action alerts related to them. You can also shop some of our cool wear and join our subscription list so that you get our updates. So that's going to be really important during the session. We put out updates anytime we need you to take action, and we'll keep you in the loop.
Awesome. And Eric, where can we find and follow what you guys got going on at DFW Normal?
You can find us at dfwnormal.org or on Facebook and Instagram, also at dfwnormal. We're actually going to start ramping up, our events again, and now that some of our COVID restrictions have been kind of lax, we found some places that are big enough to be able to host us and be able to social distance safely and do all that. So we're looking forward to getting back in there and getting people involved for the session. Thank you guys for having us on, and maybe we can do this again sometime.
Absolutely. Thank you guys so much for joining us.
Thank you.
And thanks for tuning in. Everyone, make sure you like and subscribe to keep up with all cannabis legalization news. We will see you on Wednesday.
Gail means yeah, she was the host. I've seen her.
Who?
Lauren. Here you go. I'll be right back. Okay, spot.
Whoa, what's going on? Joe Biden and marijuana legalization? No way. This was just, they're live right now about it.
Good morning, Pete.
Joe Biden, president-elect, has a dubious past when it comes to marijuana, the war on drugs. So we're going to see legalization under Joe Biden. I don't know what's that going to look like. Did you know that?
That was shocking.
Hello?
Mandarins are craziness. It's all today on the 710 morning show.
Okay, I'll let him know. Bueno. Oh, okay, awesome. Okay, bye. Steven!
What's up, everybody? Hope you guys are having a good day. It is Thursday, February 14th. Happy Thursday, everybody. This year's ready?
Flying by.
Oh man, this year is crazy. This year has already told 2020 hold my career. You know what I'm saying?
First few days.
We've been invaded the Capitol. It's just
Move it. What?
Can you let him know that ya van a venir por él?
But
Okay.
luckily we
Por
have
And they're bringing you the cutters.
So yesterday we did a show on Kamala Harris, who is the incoming
Yo, this shit's getting crunk
and I figured today
in the marijuana
we
world.
should do a show on the incoming president, Joe Biden.
Joe Biden.
because I think worth noting that Joe Biden has not been a friend of the marijuana
Hey,
industry or marijuana.
can you get on my phone? My phone's right there somewhere.
For a very
And no,
long
listen,
time.
go on my
If you
phone,
think,
call Spectrum,
if you
get them on
think
the thing,
of
the schedule
the
of the technician services that bring
stereotypical
their workers.
anti-marijuana kind of stance, it's a gateway drug, kind of, it's destroying our
Hey, I
society.
figured out how to unlock it.
Harsher penalties for
Now I gotta figure out how to get to the phone.
that
Oh,
was
in the room.
he made a lot of his career out of the
Just get them
wall
on the
of
thing, basically. I don't know how to use the keypad.
skeptical of what he brings to the table when it comes to
Babe, what did we do with the lighter?
I gave it to you. It's in your room.
Oh, you did?
It's right there at your side of you.
the dandelion, maybe, and maybe Nancy Reagan. Nancy Reagan, God bless her. If you look at the gold video,
Here it is.
she really believed she believed like the best
Okay, yeah.
Really?
The phone number I have for you is 9. While I transfer you to a technical support representative.
Babe!
After your call, you may receive an opportunity to provide feedback on the support we provided you today. We would greatly appreciate your response.
The 86 and 90, he introduced a bunch of
That's because they're answering.
Thank you for calling Spectrum Internet Repair. My name is Leanna. Who am I speaking with today?
You speaking with Renetta. Finally.
bills to get tough on criminals that produced and distributed federally controlled substances. What do they have now? A lot of them called for really harsh prison sentences.
This is crazy, y'all. Excuse me.
It's interesting because he is a real big proponent of fighting the opioid crisis with rehab. So he's really into funding rehab system. Apparently, from the research that I've done, he looks at it as the old school rehab model.
Por la verga. Okay.
12-step kind of model.
This is some crazy shit.
I don't know how that might
This one keeps meowing like a cat.
maybe look into that story a little bit more. Yeah, to see how that might have affected him. Opiates, which is why he's he was anti-drug before that, which is kind of interesting.
Come here, my love. Gizmo, come here.
Some of those bills were the Narcotics Control Act of 1986, the Federal Crime Control Act of 1989, and the National Drug Control Strategy Act of 1990. So the theme among all of those was harsher sentences.
What's wrong?
For illicit drug
What's
use,
wrong?
which includes cannabis. And those bills also funded more federal efforts to get rid of those illegal drugs and those illegal drug markets. So it's not like he was
Why are you biting me?
on the sidelines, or I would just.
Let me see. Here comes the jealous one.
Asked him,
Sit down. Sit. Leave him alone.
He was an active participant. Absolutely.
I know. Look, you rub the bellies. We rub the bellies. We rub the bellies.
When cannabis enthusiasts and the public
we rub the bellies.
looked at a lot of the
He just wants to lick my shirt. So all you want to do is lick my shirt.
This is Joe Biden. I still believe it's a gateway drug. I've spent a lot of my life as a chairman of the Judiciary Committee dealing with this. I think we would
Lie you down the other way. The other way.
So this is why we get a lot of pushback.
Come here. Rub the bellies right here.
We talk about confident that they're going to legalize.
Rub the bellies right here.
A lot of people point to Joe Biden's track record, as they do Kamala Harris's track record.
You're just trying to stop it from moving.
Why are we to believe that these people are going to, legalize?
Right here somewhere.
They've shown us that they have it in the past.
You have no control of it now.
So that
right
quote that he said
here.
about being a gateway drug is 10 years old, 11 years old, 2007. And
there it goes. Yes. The poopies. The poopies.
Hey, I'm speaking to our neighbor. She lives local to us. She's not gonna tell us where, but at the same time, she lives local. She's from South Texas, so I told her already. I'm like, even if I think or even cheat on you, I'm buried in my own backyard, so I might as well can't where I'm gonna be at right now. So I explained to her. She already knows what she needs to send the technician for. I just needed the bolt cutters to cut that thing in the back so they could do the work and replace the 2 wires.
Okay, I got all of
So you can. Go ahead.
OMG. Okay, so I got everything I needed. Y'all, it's almost 4:20.
Hey, do you have your security code for a Spectrum? German
Yo, give me a
Shepherd,
few
and I
minutes so I can
have,
handle this, and I'll be right back.
Chihuahua.
And I'll start another one.
Okay. 401. Yeah.